Are you going to host, Reagan?
Okay, sure.
That sounds good. That works for me.
So what YouTube are you using?
We're live.
So I know what.
I tweeted it and I added you. So you
Okay, I'm not following you on Twitter, so hold on.
I know that it's challenging. I know you took the short bus back from the live stream.
Look up the Twitter for Madge for me. Fax it to me. Thank you, honey.
Thank you, honey. Squish Sam. I'm gonna do the theme song when you're ready.
Now, did you start streaming or did you just
I told you 6
live?
times I started streaming.
Oh, God, I said my social.
My God.
All right, let me get this here now.
This girl's half awake. This is going to push my nerves.
Okay.
I heard Wanda in the back. Who is that?
Are you on drugs, Debbie? You sound a little sluggish.
Yeah, you do sound a little weird.
I had to take 2 Benadryls today because I got stung.
Are you on some weird?
Be a long grum.
Do you have some weird headphone delay or something? You sound like you're hearing yourself slowly.
That's just my normal.
Worse.
That's not normal. That's not normal.
I'm sorry, I didn't shave. I need to turn that Zoom filter on. I'm really too ugly for words, and I need to fix that.
I don't like how we're kind of blurry.
See, I like blurry because I'm
blurry.
Like
I don't want to be blurry because I guess we're using yours to go in. Okay, we should just start.
We're blurry because your internet's bad. You can change it to HD on the settings.
Yeah, it's 720p is what we're running at.
Yeah, it's not blurry. It's just you probably have it going at 360 because I'm looking at it and we look fine to mine.
No, I look good in my Zoom, but then when I look at the YouTube,
it's because you go to the settings in the YouTube and click and change your settings.
Oh, where is that at? Oh, settings.
Oh, Maris.
Okay, audit quality.
Yeah.
720.
There you go. See how better we look?
Yeah, that does make a difference.
I need to find the Golden Girls theme song for when Reagan has technical issues.
Because I'm an old lady?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the closest I can find to my mother. Okay.
We have people here. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I'm going to play the theme song. 3, 2, 1. No, wait, I'm not even recording. Hold on. Here we go.
Yes. Oh, what was that? What are we doing?
Go on, go on, go on. It sounds like something you find in your penis.
Oh, God.
Oh, I fucking fucked up again. I'm sorry. I did the same thing I did fucking last week, and I apologize profusely. I had it on the warp. Merci.
Reagan, do you have the audio going in your background? It's playing art.
No.
I hear.
3, 2, 1, go.
Yes. Oh, what was that? What are we doing?
Go on, go on, go on. It sounds like something you find in your penis.
Oh, God.
I got my feet in cement. I got my head in the clouds. You might call me demented, but I am too damn proud. I got a hunger for something outside the status quo. So pull up your chair. We are full automatic. We are out and about. We are singing hallelujah with our hearts torn out. No need to beat on what you already know. Your place has been set.
I'm lost. Are you masturbating?
Very lost. Perpetually lost.
We're all going to hell. You're so fucking ugly.
Fuck you, motherfuckers. I'll fuck who I want. Yeah, jealous, you like it.
Don't judge me.
Do not call me a fucking onion.
Christ.
Such an angelical, lively bunch tonight, aren't we?
Cha-ching.
I smell lunch.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 156th episode of Eat This Hot Show. I am Ragan Fox, and it's so odd listening to clips of myself from 15 years ago. It's like I'm being haunted by my 29-year-old self. Very odd. That must be what Sharon Stone feels like every day of her life. I am joined today by my illustrious co-host, the Queen of Vaseline Alley, Madge Weinstein, how are you doing, Madge?
What, me? I'm not the queen of Vaseline Alley. That's Debra.
No, Debra
Allergic
is
to Vaseline.
and because she has these horrible allergies,
Sores.
she is the Duchess of Benadryl.
She's got a pussy. I'm fine. I just made some salmon. I made 2.25 pounds of salmon, and my house is
Why?
my house, like my vagina, smells very fishy at the moment. So I'm a little Thursday's fish night.
Are you not so far? By the way, I'm making salmon tonight too.
I'm
I make a
filthy.
salmon taco.
Oh, that's nice. Is that like my vagina then?
It is.
Now, let me ask you this. I don't have to ask Ragan because, he's on the coast, but where do you source your salmon, Madge? Because it's obviously not fresh.
From between her legs.
At the grocery store, you stupid bitch. Where do you think?
Well, it's frozen where you're from, though. Frozen. I was reading an article about a couple weeks ago about the salmon. Apparently, all fish, if you think it's fresh when you go to the Whole Foods, it's shipped frozen. And if you live in the elite cities of East or West, you're getting the real thing. So Reagan's getting the real thing, and we're just getting frozen.
Up yours. Why do you have to bring me down? You eat garbage from boxes.
What a downer, Debbie Downer.
I eat no, and I don't think there's anything wrong
you
with
eat those
frozen.
British Petroleum like oil fish from the Gulf of Mexico? Is that what you dine on?
There's nothing
your
wrong with
crawdads
that.
and your
Let me tell you,
stinkfish and your possum stew like grandma? You eat possum stew with grandma and peepaw?
listen, Mr. Long John Silver's did nothing to nobody, okay?
No, Long
So
Dong
just,
Silver. Long Dong
Who
Silver.
are you suddenly? Like Gordon Ramsay? Do
Right.
you know, Madge, when you eat your salmon, that it's
But
frozen?
a lot of people don't know that.
Because she's thin this week, because her fucking animation is thin, and somehow she thinks she's actually eating right and thin.
I'm bone thin. No Megan McCain today.
Who are you?
I hope you don't choke on a fish
Actually,
bone,
it's
Madge.
funny we talk about fish because I'm wearing my rain jacket.
But Debbie, who are you? Who are you emulating in that outfit? I don't
Oh
know.
no! So this is actually the true body figure that I use when I normally live stream. I was going to pull another Megan McCain, but she looked so bad today, and it just wasn't working. I don't know what's going on. She looked like she was going into battle today on The View.
I like her. I mean, I like the way she experiments with her looks. I mean, granted, they're mostly tragic, but I like that she's willing to take chances with her looks and do crazy shit. I don't mind it.
That blue eyeshadow, it brought me right back to the late 1980s when I would steal my father's pornography to masturbate to it. And he had this porno called Inside Seika. Seika is not a country.
My father had Seika too. Sure.
Seika was a
oh my God.
Seika was a big star.
Yeah.
And so I would masturbate, and she had the blue eyeshadow.
Well, today was yellow. She had a thin yellow line today.
Did you masturbate to Seika or to Megan McCain? I'm confused.
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. Yeah.
Well, I do love, she doesn't have anything really to put in anymore, I've noticed. So the only thing she can do is dress crazy to keep herself relevant, I feel.
She has a victim complex that gets very tiring, where it's, I'm the only conservative voice on this. It's like, honey, that's your paycheck. Don't complain about it. Like, that's your job.
But she does, I agree with you on that, but I really like her opinions sometimes. She researches her points. And she's pretty well informed, especially compared to some of the others. She doesn't just blow her talking points. Sometimes she does, like when she talked about why she was against the stimulus. But other times, I mean, her stuff is pretty independent thinking. I like her. I like her a lot on that show.
I don't get that. There's been a few times where I've agreed with her, but majority of the time it's the same rehash of the same old things. My daddy.
I agreed with her on Cuomo.
I agree. Obviously, I agree with her on Cuomo, and I think she was in the forefront when this started rolling with the lovely hotels he was creating for the elderly people. What were those called?
Concentration camps.
When he was doing all of that stuff, I agree with her, but
she says her opinion, and I like that. I respect that. She doesn't worry really about the ramifications of it. She just says it. Well, I didn't watch it during that time.
Okay, we have a full show because a lot has happened in the last week. We have tons of hot topics, just like the girls from The View, and we want to start with some horrible thing that happened to Madge. You may have seen her.
Oh, goody.
Madge loves to rage tweet. She rage tweeted, what's the guy's name? The new Steve Jobs.
Use her power.
What's his name?
Tim
Tim
Cook.
Cook.
That's who I look like. Look at me.
She messaged Tim Cook and said, if I do not get an immediate response, I'm going to the press. And I love that Madge just, the ultimate Karen, goes straight to the top. What happened to you, Madge?
Okay, so first of all, I have to preempt that because she's calling me. My next door neighbor is calling me now, and this is sort of a side story, but it reminded me because I wanted to share this because it's kind of funny. So my next door neighbor is a 72-year-old woman. She just talks forever. She's one of those people. She's little tiny, and you see her, and she just chats, and she drinks all the time, and she won't ever stop talking to me. I see her, she brings the mail, and 10 minutes later, I close the door, and I'm like, oh, thank God it's over. But anyway,
Wish she lived in New York.
She doesn't do internet. She doesn't even have a cell phone, so she needed help getting the vaccine. So I made a vaccine appointment for her. Took me all day, and I said, but she doesn't have email, so I had to use mine. And she's also, I didn't mention she's kind of conservative. So when I gave her the appointment and I said, and I used my email and my phone number. So I said, well, I registered, here's the printout. You can take this to them, but I need to explain something a little weird. I registered you under my email, which is bloated lesbian. So just tell them that it's your neighbor's account and you're not a lesbian. They won't know you. They won't think you're a lesbian. She's like, okay, all right. And then I gave her the number, which was firm uterus, but I didn't tell her it was firm uterus. But I felt so bad for her because she's such a conservative. She's like, oh. And she's like, you're a lesbian? Oh, yeah, well, I'm a lesbian. Yeah, sure. Oh, okay. She's like, what? She said, I've lived here for 4 years, and you never explained. Anyway, I'll shut up about that. Thank you for letting me get that out. If she hadn't called me during this call, I never would have known that. Ladies, I had quite an experience, and I thank you, first of all, in advance for allowing me to use this platform to expound upon it, because I'm in between seasons.
This is Madge talking about this on Eat This Hot Show. Is her making good on her threat to Tim Cook that she's taken it to the press?
Well, it does work.
Right. Well, I did at CNN. I did at CNN and at Bloomberg. They don't give a shit. There's some companies that respond to Twitter and some that don't. Apple does not. Anyway, so I'm like, But so anyway, I appreciate your allowing me to do this because I'm on yeast break. I would normally do it on my show, Yeast Radio, but I'm on a season break, and I'm not just going to go off season. I'm not going to be like Bill Maher. Let's just be like, oh, here I am in between seasons because I'm so fucking important. He never did that. I don't know why I said that. But so I read last week. I'm a big Apple fan. Me and Debbie, well, Ragan too. We're all Apple fans, maybe a different level. I'm also a stockholder since 2002. I'll have you know. A big part of my retirement is located in Apple. I'm a fan. And Apple's been closed all this time except for pickup. And I read on Mac Rumors or something last week, they said, oh, the Apple stores are going to open up. I said, oh, goody, we can go to the Apple store, right? Got my mask on, went downtown, and I'm so excited. We went to the Uniqlo and bought some pajamas first, which is the Japanese clothing store. Very nice, very cheap, but not as tight as the horrible H&M shit where everybody wears
all of this sounds like essential business, Madge. All of it, every last second of it.
It's all essential. And then, so we get to the Apple store, and I see that it's open. I'm like, thank God. So first, it's a beautiful Apple store on Michigan Avenue, so it's 2-level. We go down.
Well, it looks like a MacBook.
Right. We go downstairs to the entrance by the river because it looked more convenient. Everything looks open and free. I open the door, go in, and some big white guy goes, oh, you can't go in this way. You can't go in this way. You have to go upstairs. No, like, thank you for visiting Apple. No sign, right? Nothing. So we go upstairs. I'm like, okay, go upstairs, go in the entrance, and there's all these, like amusement park lines, even though there's nobody in line. Like, oh, we go in, we got our mask on. So first we go to the medical station, right? 2 guys sitting there. First of all, everybody's white, big kind of football player, fascist. They all look like it. Basically, it's Nuremberg. And so we're like, so they've got 2 of those guns to like take your temperature and a box of masks. And I'm like, he's like, why are you here? I'm like, we just want to browse. Are we allowed to shop? We heard it was open. Yeah, you can browse. Let me take your temperature. And then he shoots me here, shoots my lesbian wife here. Okay, You're clear. And then the guy goes, blah, 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 mask. And I'm like, what? And it turns out he was asking me to put on another mask. So I put on a second mask because he didn't like my mask because it's not a...
Well, it's not Apple. The Apple ones are nice.
Right, it's not Apple. So I put on the surgical mask. Oh, so I'm wearing my double masks. My lesbian wife is wearing her surgical mask. We're all good. We go to the next station. Another guy, another big fat white guy, looks like he could kick your ass. What are you here for? Do you have an appointment? No, we just want to browse. We heard it was open. We just want to look. I haven't seen the new computers, and it's been a year. Oh, okay. Go down, and then at the top of the stairs is Jeff, another like 6'4" white guy.
Sounds so hot.
Nazi. And he says, what are you here for? We just want to shop. Oh, well, I need to set you up with a, I can't remember what he said. Oh, well, you need to have an appointment. And I said, why do we have an appointment? I thought the store's open. Are we allowed to shop? Is it okay? We just want to browse. Yeah, you can shop. You can shop. Well, can we just go then? And then my lesbian wife said, well, you're kind of rude. And I said, yeah, I've been shopping here for 20 years. I've never been like accosted like this. I mean, we just want to shop in the store. I've been shopping since the Michigan Avenue store opened. I'm a big fan. I just want to look at your products. Well, okay. Well, let me get you a sales rep. And then my wife is like, and then I'm like, do you want to still do this? And she's like, yeah, let's do this. We want to look at that. My wife doesn't give a shit about Apple, but she knew I did. At this point, she's so glad because she has all these run-ins with authority. I never do. And she's like, oh, finally, Madge is getting it. So she's like, okay, no, we still want a sales rep. Let us go. And then they said, oh, well, you can't shop together. You have to go shop separately, right? So you have to shop separately. You cannot shop together, right? We're married. I said, oh, we're not allowed to shop together? Fuck this. And I just walked out. We can't shop together.
Yeah, that doesn't make Madge. I went and picked up, I kind of get the questions of asking, why are you here? Why are you here? Because they'll direct you to different lines or different parts of the store based on what you're there for.
But they were rude, they were authoritative, and they were fascist.
Right. They shouldn't be that way about it.
Right.
But I live in Los Angeles, and we have some of the most hardcore lockdown policies in Los Angeles. And I went at the height of the pandemic to pick up my Mac Mini. And there were families that came there together, more than 2 people, mind you. And they were not told that they had to separate or... that's odd that they.
Well, that's why I tweeted Apple. I said, "Is this a policy that couples cannot shop together?" Because I would like to know about it, whether or not I was discriminated against.
Well,
and I got no response. So I am here with the press. This is greetings, press. Here we are.
Wow.
But
let me just give you my opinion. I think you're a Karen. I think what your
with that hair, you're one to talk.
Your points. No, I'm just playing. No, I don't want to out your information, but your wife, if let's say, maybe somebody of the royal family was asking, would say,
she's dark-skinned. Yes.
Is it? Yes. And I think, I'm not going to say that's like the main reason, but I do feel like they probably thought, and I'm just saying, because just my opinion of Madge when she's out and about, I don't get a very lesbian vibe from you.
Okay.
And they probably think you're 2 different friends from 2 different households. And that's
we were
what
together.
I'm thinking.
We were talking together.
Oh, no. I know. Yeah. But see, the thing is, when you go into these places, you could still be separate. But after I had some remodeling done this week, I had to take off and go to my other house, and it was a big old mess. And after driving from Barkerville to the other part of Barkerville, honey, this country is open. Lightfoot has everything open, basically, right?
Not well.
So I'm just not understanding this. Isn't there more of a chance of spreading corona when they send you to one person to talk, then to the next, then to the next?
Let me just get to the point. Yes, but my issue is not. So the reason I brought up in the show is not just to Karen out, even though it's fun, because it's not going to.
I don't think it's a Karen. I think it's valid.
The reason I'm interested is it felt very authoritarian, and it felt like this pandemic in this particular situation, this Apple store was giving people with fascist tendencies a place to have voice.
Oh,
just like
any
the,
sense of authority will do that with people. You
Right.
give people a little bit of power. It's like the Stanford experiment, right? Where people were supposed to play the role of prison guards and prisoners, and they started to internalize that stuff.
right.
Well, especially when you
so-
take somebody that's a minimum wage worker that has no power, okay, and this is true, and then plus you say their life's on the line, they're going to vent that anger out on the person shopping. But I will say it's kind of stupid of Apple to obviously have
And
the
why
store
was
open
everyone?
if you.
Why was everyone white? Why aren't they hiring integrate? Why isn't it more integrated? Why
Well,
don't
that's that store.
I
but
mean,
the store at the Grove is
Every
is
store I've been
very
at Apple
diverse.
has been very diverse. I'm talking,
Yeah.
I kid you not. And then I don't say this to be, don't take this lightly. I thought it was an amazing thing. But the person that helped me set up my Apple Watch like 2 Apple Watches ago was literally like on some type of assisted breathing thing in a wheelchair. Like every store I've been to has been very
Well,
diverse. It was the first time I'd seen someone with a disability working.
I don't want to monopolize. Well, you have a mental disability. I don't want to
I had a different line.
monopolize this with this topic because I think that's enough. But I just want to say,
have you called the manager? Because to me, it sounds very discriminatory. I
think it's because of your wife's skin color, and I'm being honest.
I think it's a combination of things. I think that they probably saw Madge. They didn't assume that she was a lesbian.
Madge's wife was white, though, this
Right.
would not have came up because it would have been instantly assumed that they're together.
Well, here's the thing. It's not up to them to be arbiters based on their preconceived notions
yeah, there
of what
should be a
constitutes
policy.
a married couple.
They need to have a policy and go by
If
the
somebody
policy.
tells them, they have to take that at face value, whether or not they have suspicions of it or not. So if I were you, I would definitely, I mean, I know I'm encouraging you to be a Karen,
Email.
but I would write their corporate office and I
Email
would
Tim
contact
Cook.
the manager.
Okay.
That will have more of an effect than you
Okay, it's
sending
not.
a
But I
tweet
guess
to Tim Cook.
my interest in mentioning here is like I'm
You wanted to get it off
I'm
your
nervous.
chest.
No. I'm nervous about what's going to happen as this pandemic ends. Like, are these kind of authoritative situations going to continue, or are we just going to go back to normal? Because like when I was
we're
at
gonna have a caste
Uniqlo,
system of vaccinated people and people who are not vaccinated.
But in some aspects, I think now, obviously, this is like the sad part about this is how it gives people, like Ragan said, or like you said, this authoritarian vibe. But I do feel it was kind of amazing when this pandemic, basically a year ago, we've been dealing with this. And when I was working at the School for Girls, we were actually finally given a chance to like tell these people, like, no, honey, we're not doing that. You're going to do this. And it was the first time in my life of ever working, if you've ever worked with the general public, of not having that mindset that the customer's always right. It was and once you broke
Right.
that, the cat's not going back in the bag, and it won't never go back in the bag now.
See, that's the vibe I was getting. But like, how come when I went to Uniqlo, they were so totally cool? It's like, okay, they have people there. They make sure there aren't too many people in there. They offer you the hand station, the hand sanitizer, and it's cool. Like, they weren't fucking crazy, and they're a more cramped space. The Apple Store has so much. This particular store is all free space. There's tons of air.
Thank God, because you're such a large woman. Natalie's a bigger girl.
That's true.
And she has to fit into
Happier
that
people.
store.
Apple just now started really well.
I think I should get a free Mac Mini. Oh no, I think I should get a MacBook Pro 13. Actually, I think I should get
my
something
daddy got
free
an iMac out of an incident
at the
from
store.
emailing Tim Cook. From an issue of prejudice.
Okay.
We should transition to this is an excellent
Excuse me?
transition. Not
I'm
in
a real
transgender
lesbian.
way. This is a
Oh.
nice transition into
Vaccines?
the next topic that we want to talk about. Debbie just blew my load. It was going to be a big
sorry,
surprise, and you stepped on it.
Well, the reason is, go ahead.
Debbie's like, vaccine.
I wanted to make sure because you didn't update the
Vaccine.
Google Doc, so I updated my own.
Vaccines. Are we doing vaccine waters? Okay, so we want to talk about vaccines. Last night there was an excellent episode of South Park that was called the Vaccination Special, and it highlighted some of the things that I think just really capture the moment right now. And it was so great to see South Park back and actually funny again. So I have 2 clips that I want to play.
Okay,
the first
hold
of
on.
which is
Let me just say, in case we get DCMA'd, if this stream goes off the air because of this shit, then just go to my Twitter feed. I'll move it to another feed. So just follow
we don't know.
Eat This Hot Show on Twitter if the stream dies, and we'll advise you shortly.
this is part of the fascist authoritarian state that Madge is talking about, where it's completely fair game to play a clip from a television show if you're engaging in some type of commentary of it.
Yeah.
But
But the bots
But only the
don't.
corporations can.
But the-
Only the corporations are fine.
The bots don't know that. And also, it made much worse in the last stimulus bill that Trump signed, because they put in this horrible thing that basically anybody who streams is committing a felony. So then,
well, if you watch any of Debra's streams, that's pretty accurate. Okay, so
true.
The first clip that I want to play happens at the very beginning of the episode, where all of these people are in front of the hottest club right now in South Park, which, by the way, they are spelling now South Park instead of a K with a Q, with a big capital Q. And the big club that everybody's trying to get into, like at Studio 54, is a Walgreens, and they're all trying to get vaccinated. So here is a clip from that.
Come on, man. We've been waiting for hours. You guys have plenty of
It's not loud enough.
Oh, is it not?
It sounds like it's coming through your speaker. There you go.
man. We've been waiting for hours. You guys have plenty of vaccinations in there. Just let us in, man.
55 and older and first responders only.
Look, the thing is, we're at school faculty, okay? You gotta let us in.
No, you have to let in people with health issues first. I am a chain smoker, and my wife is 39 pounds overweight.
I have a compromised immune system. I have genital warts, and I will show them to you.
Hey, man, I'm a friend of Dan Roberts. He's a dental assistant in Conifer.
Get the out of here. I said you're not getting in. You're wasting your time. Tom, I'm outside the hottest place in town. And what we'd like to do now is take you for an exclusive look inside.
You're not getting in, pal.
I'm actually willing to go inside and get a shot so that everyone can see just how safe it is.
I said get lost. You're not getting in. Get out of my face.
Please give me a shot.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I spent a good portion of the 90s in those kind of lines, so I do appreciate what they did with that.
I did it because I always got to cut. I'll play the next clip when there's kind of like a natural opportunity to play it. But one of the things that I love about this clip, Madge actually pitched the vaccine topic for our first show back, but we had to cut it. We had to cut it for time. And she was talking about how she was in a group where she was trying to track down the vaccine, get her mom the vaccine, that she wants the vaccine, and all of these people are vaccine shaming one another. Like, no, you don't have a legitimate reason to get the vaccine. My reason is more legitimate than yours. So everybody's being kind of a Penelope from Saturday Night Live. Like, oh, you're a smoker. Well, I'm a smoker and I'm also obese and I have type 2 diabetes and I really need to get the vaccine a little bit more than you. And so I thought that was funny. Now, I had to tell y'all something. I don't want you to be mad at me. I had 2 huge glasses of iced tea today, and I'm drinking this huge thing of water. So I'm just going to run really fast to take a quick urination. I had to make some yellow.
Oh, all those pod saves and eat this. I never got to go.
I'm gonna.
I had to halt it. Go ahead, honey.
Can you hear us while you pee or no?
Go ahead.
Can you hear us while you pee?
No, that'll get her banned. We'll get banned for that. We had to.
No, I didn't say. I didn't want to hear her peeing. I want her to hear us while she's peeing.
Madge, you have to tell the story.
Well, I was going to read.
I've already heard it.
Okay, I'll read it. I've got it right in front of me.
Of the women with the 3 names.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so this is from Chicago Vaccine Hunters. So this is a group post by Andy, and I'm just going to read. I'm just going to sort of catch the middle of it because it's the only part I screen printed, but this is a good part. So Lori Lieberman-Cohen says, at Jody Lynn Miller, everybody has 3 names. I hope they turn you away because you are not supposed to get a vaccine, yet you shouldn't, whatever that means. Andy Voorhees. Oops, I shouldn't say that. Oh, who gives a shit? Some of you. Wait, can I read this or what? Or something or do you have to go pee too?
Go ahead. The Voorhees.
Oh, you mean Mrs. Voorhees from the... Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I knew that name sounded familiar. That's what it was, Friday the 13th, right?
Yeah.
Some of you negative people need to keep your nasty attitude to yourselves. Lori, you don't decide who's allowed and who isn't. That's up to the pharmacist and doctor to decide, not you. Jody Lynn Miller then says to Lori Lieberman-Cohen, well, aren't you special? All caps, I am eligible for your information. I am, all caps, eligible on the 25th. If you, all caps, read the other comments, not all locations are accepting 1C yet. So how about you read before you judge? All caps, Karen. Andy Voorhees, thank you. I just commented to her myself. And it goes on. It's lovely.
Jody Lynn Miller.
And Lori Lieberman-Cohen. Don't forget, you have to pronounce. I thought that was like, wasn't it the 80s when everybody's hyphenated and everybody has 3 names again and they're all looking for vaccines? And the best part is, like, I really loved it. There was one conversation, I haven't screen capped, but like and I got into, I shouldn't have gotten in the middle of it, but I did. And someone said, oh, I hear they're allowing ones that, we have this thing called 1B plus, 1B pause. So they do 1B was just essential workers and, I guess old people, oldies
This
like
is so
me.
confusing.
But so they did 1B plus. They said, okay, now we're going to allow people with serious diseases, right? And in among those diseases were like high blood pressure, but also had obesity and smoking. So somebody said, I can't believe, one of these hyphenated people said, I can't believe they're letting smokers go in this, get vaccinated. Smokers, it's a lifestyle choice. And I'm. This is where I jumped in. I shouldn't have. I said, so is obesity. Oh, did I get slammed? Oh, no, don't you touch obesity. Oh, no, don't you touch Lizzo.
Well,
it's not.
They're
It's
different.
not cool. No, I don't think so.
I do.
I think
you go and then
good.
I'll tell
I
you
love
what
it. We're
is
finally going to disagree. I love it.
Well, the
Yes.
reason I don't see there, and I'm a bigger girl.
You
but
are a bigger girl.
It's like,
Except
let me
virtually.
just say this really fast. I feel like it's Black Friday. I'm looking for a PS5 again, and it should not be that way. There is so much animosity over these vaccines, so much vaccine shaming or vaccine people that get one vaccine and then look down on others that get the other. I'm not just talking about people throwing in Johnson & Johnson. I know a queen that's like, oh, you can only get that one? I'm going to get the Moderna. You want Pfizer? Oh, honey.
Was it Wanda Wisdom? You're talking about Wanda Wisdom.
Yeah.
So
Did you not read the studies? And I'm like, honey, just stop. I don't care. Look, when it's available
but
to me,
that's
I'm
not
getting it.
that's not about the obesity. How does that relate to the obesity versus
No, I just
smoking?
wanted to get that out there because I know how we'll go on and then we'll skip it. I just wanted to get that out
a friend of mine, and keep going, hold that thought. A friend of mine said to me the other day, they said, oh, I just got my vaccine. I can still feel the liquid under my skin. I said, oh, that's squirt. I used one of the Debbie references there. Go ahead, Debbie.
That's not squirt.
Well, how does it have liquid if it's a chip? Sorry, I hope that doesn't get us taken
No,
down.
the chip is in the liquid, Debbie. Suspended in
Like
liquid.
salsa, double dippers, can't stand them. So back to obesity and smoking.
Yes.
I do think it's kind of the same. I mean,
Well, let me
they're both
explain why I think it's different, and then
Right.
you can disagree with me if you do.
Natalie's a bigger girl.
yes.
So, well, hold on. Let me just explain why I think
She
they're
got the
different. And
vaccine for because of it.
I was addicted to smoking for 19 years. And so I'm sympathetic to people who are addicted to it. But where I think that there is a difference is that in the United States, obesity is very closely linked to socioeconomic class. When you don't have a lot of money, you eat more processed foods, you eat more fast foods. And because we have increasing economic income disparity in this country, I am for something that acknowledges the disproportionate number of poor people who are also overweight in a way that I don't think that you can do the same thing with smoking.
Every poor person I know smokes because it's stressful being poor.
Right.
That's what I'm being honest.
I mean, I don't know if smokers also might be more on the poor side too. I suspect they would be,
They are.
but I don't care. I mean, the issue here is it's really about reducing the
people that die. If you smoke, it's a higher rate to die.
That too, absolutely. But it's also
And the
about
medical
reducing
costs.
the medical resources. We want to keep the ICUs down. We want to keep hospital admissions down. The sicker, and the fact of the matter is, if you're a smoker, you're much higher risk for getting serious COVID, and same with obesity. So both should be covered, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We may not
And I
like
don't-
it. It may be their fault, but look what happened with HIV. People blamed behavior. I mean, fuck yeah, you have people get it from fucking, and some people knew that they get it from fucking. They still fucking.
But
they
we're
got it
not
anyway.
we're not talking about whether or not these people should be covered. We're talking about should they be one of the first people to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
And
And I think
Absolutely.
they should. And my opinion is, even though I think it is a choice in some aspect to be a bigger girl, right? At least even if you have like some condition, you can try not to be the biggest girl, you know, because there are girls out there that try to be the biggest girl. There used to be a show about it. You remember that show?
600-pound life.
No, the Ugly Duckling. But what I'm going to say is, I do feel like I think they should be at the top, well, under the top of the line, but now behind, you know, medical and teachers. You know, I really think they should be right up there because they have a higher percent of getting deathly ill.
Prioritizing this is a tricky business. There's no right way to do it because some people would say you should just do it by age. There's an argument for that.
No, that's horrible.
But I don't know. I like the idea of going for the sickest, preventing the most death, and reducing the strain on medical resources.
Where the science is.
And you have to just sort of ignore fault, I think, in that case, or you just have to. In Chicago, they're going into neighborhoods, though, because they do see the racial disparity and the poverty disparity.
Totally.
Lightfoot has gone to certain neighborhoods if you have a certain zip code, you can get a vaccine today. Whether if you're 18 to whatever death is, you know, you can get
that makes a lot of sense to me. One of the things that has frustrated me living in California is how slow our vaccine rollout has been, which they're now starting to do more forward-thinking approaches for. This is brilliant. So I just heard this week about how California is allowing people who volunteer at vaccination sites for 4 hours to skip the line and get the vaccine.
Yeah, they have that here too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant policy making. This is what I think of when I think of leadership and invention. And because if part of the problem with the rollout is they don't have enough hands on deck, then this.
But you also have to acknowledge the fact that America, we've done extraordinarily well compared to other countries. Really, next to Israel, and we're at the same level of UK, we've done extremely well. It's been horrible. I agree the rollout is terrible. You have to be a computer geek to get a vax. But the important thing about the vax is getting the most vax out to the most amount of people to get to herd immunity as quickly as possible.
And
we're doing a pretty good job of it. And Biden is ahead of schedule to meeting his 100 million vaxes in 100 days. And we've already, I believe, ordered enough more than enough vaccines for everybody in this country. And I hope that we're going to use our leftover vaccine and give it to poor countries like in South America.
Not including Johnson & Johnson. So it was half Pfizer, half Moderna, too. So I was telling somebody, that's just amazing that we're going to have the Johnson & Johnson. But let me go back to what you said, Reagan, because I wanted to ask you this the other day, but I didn't have time. When you were talking about this on your Twitch, you were talking about the volunteer thing. So do they get the shot before they actually do the volunteer work?
No, because then they'll cut and run. They'll be like,
no, you have to. You probably do your 4 hours and then you.
Oh my God!
See, I don't like that because isn't that putting them at more risk?
Oh, I got a queen. I know this
because it takes Debbie. It takes around 2 weeks for the first dose of the vaccine to kick in.
Listen.
You don't take the first dose of the vaccine.
Oh no! I'm sorry. Okay, no. Okay, so I was thinking when the work was done. So they get it the day they volunteer.
Listen, bitch,
that's my guess. Yeah.
I know this queen, and she's a mutual fund manager, bitch, right? And another queen, a friend of ours, we were hate stalking her on Instagram, and she sent me a picture of her. She shows this picture of her at Howard Brown, which is a gay health center, helping people vax. She's like, just volunteering to help people get vaccinated. This was like a month ago. I said to my friend, that bitch just did it to get her own vax. 2 weeks later, maybe 3 weeks later, she's posting pictures from fucking Mazatlan, Mexico, and these exotic baths. I said, I was right. That bitch just did it. She did her virtual signal. I mean, I love the idea of it, but not to like virtue signal on Instagram. It's great to do those kind of services, but fucking keep it to yourself.
But it was
Have
only
some
the
fucking
first
humility.
dose.
Don't go to fucking Mazatlan. It wasn't Mazatlan. And then she's like, C note after C note. I'm like, is a C note? I thought a C note is $100 bill. Turns out a C note is some type of a salt lick. Anyway.
I'm confused. Wasn't this her first dose?
I don't know.
That's shameful.
This is me guessing. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I want to play a clip. Yeah. I want to play this. Oh, well, actually, before I do that, I want to address one thing that's being said in the comments by Troy Plowright.
Natalie is a bigger girl.
Troy Plowright.
Mrs. Plowright.
That
she is trans asexual.
So they think that
non-binary,
people who smoke
not
or overeat should not be condemned to death. And I just want to acknowledge that is a straw. figure argument, but nobody is saying that they should be condemned to death. We're just talking about order and who should get vaccination priority. And
Which I said they should be high priority.
Are you accusing Mrs. Plowright of hyperbole? Hyperbole?
A straw figure argument.
I remember once a long time ago, Reagan was talking about hyperbole. I didn't even know what it meant. He had to tell me.
Honey, I don't even know what half the things Reagan
Hyperbole?
says.
I always thought it was a hyperbole.
I mean, you know, I love how like should be trying to explain something to me, and I'm like, honey, if you think I know what those words mean, if I'm not in the back with a dictionary, this ain't Wonder Wisdom, honey.
Okay, correction. Mrs. Plowright is gender fluid / non-binary. I thought you said you were trans also the other day.
Well, we'll get there. Stick a pin in that because we're
Never
going to
mind, Mrs.
discuss
Plowright.
trans issues
Never
in
mind.
just a moment. So the other thing that I want to say is that
That's not gender fluid. That's squirt. Sorry.
That's not gender fluid. That's squirt. So you may remember me talking on Pod Save the Queens about my neighbor from across the street who was the vacation gay who went to Puerto Vallarta and then came back in a week and got COVID. And
she's
I
dead.
can't believe I got COVID.
Oh my gosh.
She upped and died. Is it a drive-through funeral? Wake.
But she posted a thing because everybody, and I understand why this might be getting on some people's nerves, but I'm going to speak in defense of it.
Okay.
Because I've heard Madge say something against it where people are posting pictures of their vaccination cards like, look, I got vaccinated. I'm superior
Good for
to
me.
you.
Good for me.
And so she had something negative to say about it. And she was, reading people. And I said, hey, look, we have been going through a very difficult, long, dark time. And if I have had my first dose, I did not post a picture of my vaccine card. However, I understand the inclination to do it because it's like, oh my gosh, finally a light at the end of the tunnel. I just want to do something symbolic to be like, it's similar to when people post I voted pictures. I don't think it's so much to push the idea like I voted and I'm morally superior to you. I think it's like it's the end of this election cycle, like fucking finally.
I get that. And first of all, I don't feel that strongly about this issue. It's not a big deal to me. I get that, but that's really not the reason it annoys me. It doesn't annoy me in itself posting that thing. What annoys me is the vaccine shaming as a result of it. Like people like qualifying you, like, how did you get it? Why did you qualify? Are you overweight? Are you a health worker? Like that's the sort of like I'm afraid of like basically vax shaming is what the pattern that. And maybe I spent too much time on this, COVID vaccine, hunter board that I was reading from earlier. But like, I don't like the judgment that's attached to it.
Well, I get what you're saying, and I have to be reflective about things I've done in the past. Like in the past, when I've gone a long period where I've been sexually active without getting HIV tested, I've posted the results of my HIV test in part because, and I could see why there's something implicit like.
See, that I would have a bigger problem with.
But for me, I've written about HIV testing and how people don't. I've written about that stigma in peer-reviewed research, and so it's just it's important to me, and I share everything about my life from mental illness to stuff like that. And look, I mean, when the doctor came into the room and said,
You have syphilis. Not only that, it appears that your syphilis is infested with crabs, and those crabs are carrying gonorrhea.
I just didn't know what to say about that, but I do.
You just
there
did
is
all
something
that.
cathartic
You
about
said
it.
that to
It's
say
a
that.
release.
Yeah.
I get it.
I totally understand that, but I'm going to give my opinion, which is harsh. Okay.
Do it,
but I
Debbie.
do want to say this though. First and foremost, Reagan is very proud now with this, at least. I don't know about other things. I mean, she gets around, but
Well, she's a whore. She
Reagan
pretends she
only
hasn't
has
been
like
fucked.
100 and something friends on Facebook. So what I'm about to say doesn't even really pertain to Reagan because Reagan, these are only friends and family. But people that are on the Facebook that got like 4,000 friends or has big communities where they're getting on there, taking photos and screenshots of their vaccine cards, it makes me sick. And honestly, it does. To me, it seems tacky. And it's just too much because right now, especially if you have a large audience, there's going to be somebody in there that's fighting for their life or for a loved one to get the vaccine. And it's just, it's just, I don't know. To me, it's not the same, like you said, like a voting stick or even like an AIDS test, HIV test. I'm sorry, because anybody could walk in and get that tomorrow. Right now, I think if it was like other countries where they have national healthcare systems, I'm just saying, where they text you and say, hey, today you're getting the vaccine, be ready. I don't think it'd be so much animosity. But when I'm looking at these people around me or just in other states, and I'm like, what are they doing? Your teachers, you're telling me a cancer patient doesn't qualify for a vaccine?
Yeah.
Like,
we had a philosophical conversation on my Facebook where when I said, hey, Cal State Long Beach is going to be one of the distributors in Southern California of the vaccine, and I'm going to have priority to it. And I feel bad because I don't have to be back on campus until spring of 2022. And the consensus was, look, and Madge and I had a conversation based off of a Twitter exchange that we had where it's like, look, when somebody can get the vaccine, you don't shame them.
Right.
Don't ask questions. You don't have the power to say, like I brought up my friend Jana, who's quadriplegic, who needs the vaccine much more than I do. I can't say I refuse to take the vaccine. I'm not going to take my spot, and I will it to Jana.
That's stupid.
It's not the way it works.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not. And that's because we don't have a national rollout or any type of...
Well, I still don't have an answer to my question, which I've been asking for, months, which is, if you're a gay, if I get the vaccine, I've had my double shot. It's been 3 weeks since my second shot. If I fuck someone up the ass, will they get my immunity or not?
With your clit? You're a lesbian.
Yeah, with my clit.
First and foremost,
my squirt.
when I was invited to do this, I was told it was going to be The View, but
you
on
didn't answer the
Christian
question.
Network broadcasting. And so I don't know where that came from, but if we could just act like it didn't happen, because that's filth.
Yeah, this isn't your channel, Debbie. We can say whatever the fuck we want.
My dad
This isn't
was
Church
in
of Goody
World
Goody.
War. I mean, my dad, John McCain, fucked men up the ass.
You're not her
all
this
the
week.
time,
You're too thin.
and never.
You're too thin
never
to
want.
be. Before I just want to say my opinion's totally changed since we had the discussion. My opinion has totally changed. I don't feel that way anymore. I think basically is the most important thing with vaccines, and it's tough, it's horrible, but getting it out there to the biggest amount of people as quickly as possible, preferably to the people who are most likely to get severe COVID. That's the best. But other than that, still, I'd rather have it go to more people than stay in bottles, because we really want
I would
herd
like
immunity.
to play this other clip from South Park, which just addresses conspiracy theories, which is really close to my heart right now because I have a very close friend who has just fallen down the rabbit hole and believes in all that QAnon bullshit. And I mean, it's funny to a degree, but when it's somebody who you really care about, like, and I've been watching all these shows about cults, like the Heaven's Gate cult and Church of Scientology.
Church of Debra.
Every time you think they're going to get out. A good friend of mine that I cut ties with when Trump got into office, just from the Mexican comment, and has now went down basically the same rabbit hole that you're dealing with. This is somebody I was close with.
Yeah, it really sucks.
And I love this person.
It hurts my heart, and I don't know. I try to give space. I don't want to comment, but at any rate, this is another clip that allowed me to release through laughter and squirt.
We just recently received a new coded message.
You got a message from Q?
Not from Q, from the Chosen One. Yes, we saw him in the produce section of the grocery store. And he said to me, blow shit out your dick hole. I immediately knew something was amiss because one can't move feces through their penis urinary tract.
Yes,
so I've been going over it and over it, and I realized, blow shit out dick hole, BSDH. We all know what BS is, but DH? It didn't make sense until my wife reminded me that DH are the initials of David Harris, the Anon from Akron, Ohio, who said that the elite use Latin to send coded messages. Out your dick hole, Anno Janus Domini Halme. Do what he does. The Chosen is teaching now. He's taking Q's message straight to the children, and he wants us to do the same. All right, Scott, your new tutor is here. Hey there, ready to get back on track with your schoolwork?
I guess so.
You better pay attention and listen to everything he has to teach you. We'll be great, thanks. All right, sit down. We don't have much time.
Huh?
Tom Hanks and Oprah are just two at the very top of an elite group of people who control everything we see and do. They feed upon children in order to maintain their elite status, and that isn't the worst of it. Do you know what pedophilia is? Here, let me show you.
It's so good. I love it when he goes, so I went over it. And that's what these conspiracy theorists mean when they say, I've done the research.
Right.
That's what they think the research is.
They've watched videos on repeat.
Yeah.
So is that our lead in into the whole Oprah Meghan thing? Because
no,
sorry, we have
so many images that came to mind when she talks about Oprah. Because I kept thinking about Oprah, how she kept fondling those eggs while she's talking to them in the chicken coop.
I mean, we can go ahead and skip to Meghan and Harry because we can. We can circle back.
It's kind of a headliner.
Well, I just wanted to show something for 1 second. Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Because it was leading into the vaccine. I don't know if you follow Monica
Lewinsky.
I think it's Gandhi9 on
No, I
on
don't.
the Twitter.
I don't even know.
Is this Gandhi?
Yeah, it might be Gandhi. I don't know. I'm bad with the names.
The one that looks like the Queen Mother in the ground?
No, Monica Gandhi9. It's Gandhi, right?
You better not be showing us some false statistical crap.
No, it's not. It's not. But anyways, I just wanted, I was going to tie this in when we were talking about the efficacies
Remember,
and stuff.
not everybody's watching this. Some people are just listening.
Well, no. And so I just wanted to point out, after looking through a lot of things, because I know Ragan, I get so confused because Ragan streams almost every night, and he'll talk about topics that we're going to talk about on here, and they're very good topics, and then I'll be falling asleep half the time, and I'll dream of things that didn't happen, like this one time Ragan came into my room. But long story short,
too late.
Was it last week? Did you talk about the Johnson & Johnson on the last show, Ragan, or was that on your own show? I don't remember.
Who cares? Get to the point.
Anyways, Ragan was
in.
confused with like some of the statistics, and the reason they change is because of in the studies of when they actually pulled the data and all that. And that's one of the reasons why it looked like the protection was so low, Ragan.
With Johnson & Johnson.
With Johnson & Johnson. And also, I want to say this. Pfizer and Moderna, they didn't have the variants at that time to test, but Johnson & Johnson, they believe, was already, because this was in like South Africa or something like that, it was already fighting the variants. And so nobody has died at all. So it's basically got 100%, hospitalization and death rate. It's super low. And I just thought that, at this time, if anybody's out there and then you listen, if you don't have a choice, just get a vaccine. I just wanted to point that out there.
What you're saying is everybody, except for one vaccine from Moderna, which was probably a fluke, there have been no deaths from vaccinated people.
No, and the thing is, the one in the arm, it was basically, they have to put this in the study.
What does that mean under Johnson & Johnson, though? It says 100%. 7 deaths, 16 hospitalizations. And placebo. I got it.
And placebo. Okay. That's what I'm saying. That's what's so amazing about it. They didn't even have one death in the actual study.
And that's with the variants or no variants?
No. So everybody believes it's with the variants because this was in.
Well, don't tell me what everybody believes.
No. What I mean that, I'm sorry. Listen, this is Southern talk. These studies, because they tested on, the foreign countries, Latin America, South Africa. Okay. I'm just saying. And so when I went back, there's a good video that I think a Canadian broadcast company did about this. I wish we had time to play it. Just look it up on YouTube. Yeah. These people in like Africa, we're all stressing about this vaccine over here, but they're not even going to get a vaccine in like 3 to 4 years because of, it's white privilege. And it's a huge wealth gap in the world. And when you go back and you think that, like, we're lucky to live in America, no matter what race, everybody's going to have access to the vaccine here. But these are the countries. It's sad. I mean, I just can't imagine.
What is the source of this? I mean, I know you said Gandhi, but what is the...
Yeah, I'll post the link to it.
So here's the deal. And Debbie, we've already had
news articles. Yeah,
we've already had this conversation before. I don't deny that you can't do a straight up comparison of the 3 vaccines that are in the U.S. market right now. I understand that there are methodological complications that arise from that the Johnson & Johnson one was done more recently and with more variants and in a different country. I understand all of that. my point has always been that there's a crisis of communication involved when they're giving us data about these studies. So for instance, when I first made this post and said, my personal choice is that I was not going to take the Johnson & Johnson. I would stay in lockdown. However, I take lockdown seriously. I haven't seen a friend or a family member, let alone hugged them, in a year now. But if somebody was going to go out and not stay in lockdown, then no, I don't think that they have the right to be that discerning about their vaccination choices. Mm-hmm. So somebody responded to me, my friend Justin Bourne, who's a scientist, and with an article from CNN that he was using to kind of trumpet a point similar to Debbie's. And I said, hold on, let's look at some of the information in the article that only highlights my point that they're giving us conflicting information. So in this article, it says, according to the analysis, the single-dose vaccine showed about 66% efficacy globally against moderate to severe and critical COVID-19 cases 4 weeks after inoculation. But in the United States, it showed 72% efficacy. Against severe forms of the disease, it's even higher, offering nearly 86%. Dr. Wen then went on to say, what really matters is the vaccine's ability to prevent severe disease, and beyond that, disease that's severe enough that leads to hospitalization or even death. She pointed to Johnson & Johnson's vaccine trial, in which there are no individuals who had a severe enough case of COVID-19 that they ended up in the hospital or a ventilator or died. So my question was, okay, here we have one doctor giving us her professional opinion about why Johnson & Johnson is just as good as these other two vaccines, and in one breath says that it's 66% efficacy, then 72% effective at keeping people out of the hospital. But then in the next breath says that it's 100% effective at keeping people out of the hospital with such severe cases.
But the problem is these are all different studies. I mean, they're not going to match up.
It does sound like
she's talking exclusively about the Johnson & Johnson
It sounds to me like they're trying to talk up. A lot of that's the problem with a lot of the pandemics. Sometimes they're not always forthright with information. They try and
they're not
it.
transparent at all.
Right.
What it is about is they have a noble end game.
Right.
Well, this Atlantic article,
the end game.
They want people to take whatever vaccine they're offered.
Exactly. Yeah. Get shots in arms because that is what's going to get us to herd
immunity
they're not willing as
to
fast
be
as
honest.
possible.
They think that if they're honest, people will not do that.
Exactly.
Right?
It harkens back to the early days of the lockdown, where the CDC recommended against people wearing masks. And the idea was, no, we need masks to go to first responders, to medical workers, all of that end game, noble. I get it, right?
But they played
games. When you're not transparent with people, when you are not being honest because you think the ends justifies the means, what ends up happening is people don't have faith when you're actually telling the truth and trying to work to some type of great good.
I agree.
Also,
so just,
when you're reading an article,
1 second, let me just talk. I know we have a lot to discuss. I just want to say that as sort of an innocent bystander in this, Reagan's right, Debbie's wrong.
No, but I do feel like anybody can read these people are just reading different data, and the article you read, who tells what information they're getting it from? All I can say is this was put out on March 7th, 2021 by Hilda from The Atlantic. Hilda Bastion.
Okay. No, that's good. I just wanted to make sure it was a legit source.
No, it is, and she cites the lady, and then her sheet where she updated her table. So it's a good read. Read it.
I will say personally, I'll take any vaccine. I don't care.
And I think most people should. Another noble thing about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is that there are large pockets of communities who are not going to go back for a second dose.
Right.
Vaccine. Like you look at homeless population where it's hard to track them down, or elderly people who may have memory problems. I mean, there's
the side effects are better. They're much less risk of side effects. I was talking to a lady on that COVID group, the one I read from earlier, and she's like, "Where can I get a J&J vaccine? I really want the J&J vaccine." I said, "Well, I'm just curious. Why do you want that?" I said, "Is it convenience or efficacy?" She said, "Absolutely, it's convenience. It's only one shot, you're done."
Yeah,
she knew that.
But there are side effects to that one. I mean, I read on a Reddit, somebody got it, and they said it felt like, they had the flu for the first night, and there was what was funny is they was like, oh, I felt like waves going through my body, and the guy was like, oh, it's okay, honey, that's just the radio waves. Tune into AT&T. No, it was pretty funny because that's how she described it. It was like waves going through her body.
Well, and I've tried to reorient what a side effect from a vaccine is, and it's not, you're not getting sick with anything. That's your immune system.
We talked about this a long time ago because I had no idea. I never thought about that.
I always heard when people would get the flu shot, the COVID-19 has really radically changed the way that I think about epidemiology and vaccinations, because I would hear stories all the time of people getting the flu shot and then getting the flu directly after. And I was like, well, I've only had the flu twice in my life. And so selfishly, not thinking about, me getting the flu vaccine at the age of 44 is more about the effect that might have on other people, right? And the other thing that it taught me was that when you get sick, quote unquote sick after a vaccine, that's your immune system. It's the provoked response, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Like and the older people generally don't have as much of a side effect. Like my mother, after her second one, I'm like, oh, she had the Moderna, which is usually more side effects. Nothing. Her arm was a little sore because when you're older, your immune system isn't as strong, so your immune system doesn't activate as much.
Well, that's why
it's kind of weird.
In some countries in Italy, over 100 and plus, they weren't dying from the corona. They'd go to the hospital, but because they didn't have that storm thing going on in their lungs. So once they were able to treat that, look at Dolly Parton. She got the vaccine. Her boobs got bigger. I mean, it's amazing. Amazing.
Well, I think she did it too for
Debra so much ammunition now. When she finally gets her vaccination, she's going to be like, oh, this yeast infection that I've had for the past 10 years.
It's gone.
No. She's going to blame. She's going to say, I got this vaccination, and then suddenly I've had a yeast infection for 10 years. I don't know. It's a symptom. It's a side effect.
I did look online, and there's like a whole government subsidy that, like, if you feel like a vaccine has made your life worse, you can tap into that money, ladies. This might be a way for Debbie to have a good income. Who knows?
Is there
much to buy in return?
You mean like they have a mesothelioma for that?
Yeah, they have a fund for this. I think it was like in the CARES Act or something. I don't know. It's a lot of money, though.
The CARES Act?
Slip and fall, girls.
The CARES Act is the right name for it.
Before we get to our main entree today, I do want to say that I was watching CNN. I don't ask me why.
You got addicted because you never did before.
I did.
Because you had your finger up your butt and Cuomo was on the screen.
And they had a commercial, and the commercials are so long, which just makes me upset. Every time I see commercials, I just think corporate-funded, commercial-funded news is just such a bad idea.
Yes, amen, sister.
But they had a commercial for mesobook.com, and I thought I have to get that for Madge because of her mesothelioma.
I have several of them. I've got the Mesobook 3, 4, and 5. I'm totally up.
And there's rumors that Sigourney Weaver is going to be in the trilogy.
Was that the commercial that has that really weird guy, and it almost seems like his voice is dubbed, like it's not his real voice, and he's like, I'm mesothelioma.
Yeah, probably.
Mesothelioma.
Yeah. I love it when they have really on-the-nose ways of marketing. Mesobook.com.
You can remember that.
Why do they put on so many commercials, particularly on daytime TV, that just make you want to turn off the shit? Like, I don't want to hear about fucking breast cancer.
Repeat the phone number like 4 times.
Call 1-800.
I don't want to know about breast cancer, small cell lung cancer, like those fucking awful diseases they advertise constantly. Get me the fuck away.
I rode that mountain for 20 years. It took me through a carnival of hell. I became the plaything of Indonesian businessmen. By the end, I was barely human. But I'm willing to give it another shot.
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay, are we ready for a royal feast? Royal feast?
Oh, I think so.
The talk of the town, the universe has been this interview that Oprah did. And Oprah is the queen of the Jeffrey Epstein Lolita Express.
So they're going to cancel her.
Well, just so everybody knows, we're talking about Oprah Winfrey, not the other Oprah. The Oprah
Who's
Winfrey.
The other Oprah?
I don't know.
Okay.
You know, why did they do that, though? Why did they say Oprah Winfrey? Like, no, honey.
Right. It's just
Oprah.
It's just Oprah.
Well, I think people get it mixed up with the vegetable.
So here's a picture of Oprah interviewing Meghan Markle and
in an idyllic
Prince Harry.
setting. In an idyllic setting.
In an idyllic setting. So I have to say this before we get to anything, because as y'all know, I'm very, very molophobic. And Meghan Markle is a beautiful woman, but she had this mole right by her lip.
Oh, I love them.
I didn't even notice. Again, I didn't notice.
How?
I don't have mesothelioma like you. I have mesothelioma.
It had mesothelioma. It had makeup caked on it.
My mistake. What was that? Listen.
I just couldn't. I fixate on them all. But everybody has very different opinions about this interview. I was here's what. I was never into the royal family until we started doing Pod Save the Queens. I really didn't know any intricacies about the royal family. And so it only resonated with me because we had done a season of Pod Save the Queens right before I watched it. But I was very, very impressed by Meghan Markle, less so by Harry. I think Harry's just kind of like this average Joe, other than the fact that he is he
does not have an average penis.
Is it above average?
Huge.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's delicious.
We talked about this, I thought, on Pod Say.
I have no idea. I don't want you to think I'm being serious.
But you know what? He's in dead.
I don't want you to masturbate about a false penis.
He doesn't do it for me now.
Beware of false penises. It's in the Bible.
I like the fact that he is. My takeaway from her was that she is the brains behind that operation. She is so impressive.
Yeah. She's leading.
I mean, wow.
Can I just point out one thing?
Why she is such a threat to the royal family.
Can I just point out one thing, sort of a Debbie Downer to what you're saying? Just don't forget the fact that she is a professional actress.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't we have this conversation? Yeah, didn't we have this conversation, Madge, where you said that, and I was like, there are tons of people who are professional actors who can't come together and string together insightful commentary on race relations. And
no, that wasn't me.
I don't think it distracts from, but what Madge is saying can be true, and also means it doesn't distract from the message. She's just knowing she's got to fire back some good ammunition. And I think this is what she's this is my opinion, but I think all this is obviously true, but she's going to win because she's not going to handle this the same way Princess Diana did.
Yeah.
You don't think she's fake, right, Madge? Is that what your intention was? That she's an actress?
Right. I'm saying she could be acting. I'm saying she could be acting.
Who cares?
I'm saying because
it matters though.
Yeah, because it could be fake. She could be acting.
She could be.
I'm not saying I believe she is.
Who has more incentive here to lie? The person who is a person of color going into what we know is a racist structural institution, or the people who are trying to shield that institution from claims of racism. They have the motive to lie. She doesn't have the motive to lie.
The latter, but that doesn't mean it is impossible. That's all I'm saying.
It's not impossible, but here's what I don't like. I don't like that we would look at somebody who has the courage to come out and say that she was on the brink of suicide, that these racist things have happened to her. And one of the first things that we want to say is cast suspicion and say, well, anything that anybody says could be a lie. I just don't like to start from that place. I want to give her the benefit of the doubt because, frankly, I think she deserves it.
I think she deserves it. But the point is two things. Obviously, going into this, nobody thought, I don't know who's been living under a rock, but after watching just The Crown, I never once thought there's no race issue going in with a monarchy at all. So therefore, obviously that proves the point that what she said is valid. Yeah. And also, people do deal with suicide. I mean, more people deal with suicide than want to admit it because half of these studies, it's 50% suicide. I'm thinking suicide's probably 80%.
I certainly don't think she's lying, but I just want to acknowledge the fact that it's possible. I just think you have to look at this at all aspects of it. And maybe I shouldn't mention it at the beginning. I don't see that as a big deal
but
myself. I do want to say this, though, that I don't think it was smart of her strategically to mention the suicide. I think it's great to validate people and to show people that they can call the suicide hotline in terms of like awareness. Yes. But the problem is they're going to fucking kill her and say it was suicide and Epstein the fuck out of her.
Oh, God, that's so true.
You know, it's like so easy now. They made it so easy. Oh, she killed herself. The end. Oh.
So I just want to go back, and I both points I believe 100%. The two main points she talked about, but I do think she is smart. She's a wonderful actress. She knows media. What tripped me up and what made me question some things not about what's going on, but had me think, was when she's made the comment that she does not listen to the media. Oh, I don't read the press.
Right.
That's a lie. You're an actress. Why even start?
Of course she does.
Oh, I thought it crashed. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes. I thought something.
You're showing
crashed.
the pictures of when he was dressed as a Nazi.
Yeah.
A while ago. Harry.
I'm sorry.
But Ragan, you might want to take off your reminder for Lexapro on the screen.
No, I stand with Megan. I embrace my mental illness and my need to treat it.
She's an actress. And I think that's what makes her smart and to handle this differently. And she knows how to deal with high-powered people. She's done this for a long time in her career, so she knows how to weave things for the media, which Diana did not.
Reagan, you made an assumption that by me calling out the fact that she's an actress doesn't mean she's lying. It means that you have to consider that in how she explains things and how she expresses herself, that she could be manipulating her physicality, her words, her expressions in order to achieve a certain goal.
But we all do that.
But actors do it much better than everyone else.
And she's going
That's
up
her skill. You're a teacher and you know how to teach. She's an actress. She knows how to act. I think it's relevant.
A sociopath is going to be better than an actor at pulling off acts like that. The fact my PhD is in communication. My area of specialization is performance studies, and so I operate from the position that performance is not just something that happens on stage or in front of a camera. It's everyday life performance, and there are people who are manipulative apropos of nothing. That's just the way that they operate. My brother has never performed a day in his life. My brother, Randy, who's evil incarnate. And he is manipulative, and he can be as charming as he wants to be given a situation. He knows how to turn it on, in other words. I just think that we are not coming at this right-headed as three white people, and there are other layers of privilege here that I'm not going to mention that are different than Meghan Markle's. But to first say, well, she is an actress, so she knows how to manipulate situations. We're playing into racist stereotypes and gendered stereotypes. Well, you may not think so because you are a white woman. And so when you are from a community of color and you're treated as suspicious or dangerous or a threat to established institutions or things like that, where you can't just say, for instance, when Madge goes into an Apple store to circle around and she says, "You're not going to let me shop with my husband?" And people automatically treat that as suspicious or perhaps manipulative. Oh, that's not really your husband. You just want to be able to shop in here with your friend or whatever. I think that you are being blinded by your own privilege if you don't see how that is problematic.
No, because I'm only bringing it up because you're taking it to a whole nother level. That's not what I'm saying, because you jumped to conclusions when Madge said that. I don't know about how Madge feels about this, but I'm saying she's using the guns that she has available at her side to fight the fucking monarchy. Oh. She's using her abilities to take them down. I'm not saying she's using those abilities to lie. No. I'm saying she went into this thinking it was just going to be this, and they treated her ridiculously in the media.
Look, it's propaganda.
With racism and propaganda.
It's propaganda.
So now she says, okay, I'm going to go to the woman that can change things, and I do believe Oprah does have, especially in the fucking white women community. She went to Oprah using her celebrity and her knowledge to fight them game for game, because yes, they've got the Sun Times and the BBC media in two terms,
right? In their pocket.
She's got, guess what? America, we don't have a monarch, we have fucking celebrities. And she went to Oprah and with two things that were the main things, and she dropped those. And I think she knew how to weave everything else in there because she is an actress. She knows how to play on people's emotions. I don't think she's doing this any bad intention.
This is so.
I totally agree with
Deborah.
it.
You have me. I agree. Until you start insinuating that this is a game of manipulation.
No. I'm not coming from that saying I see that because of who she is. I'm saying this is the cards. If say she was like a casino host, she would take whatever she had available at her time to use against them, whatever knowledge. She's an actress. She knows what plays well in the
That to me
tabloids.
proves my point. Don't throw the person's career into it. She is a human being, regardless. You are going in her position. You are going to use.
Listen to what she said. Listen to this clip. This is what I said. Oh, she's going to take them down with this. Listen to what she said right here.
Okay.
I know how important representation is. I know how you want to see someone who looks like you in certain positions.
Okay.
And the other thing is, so like,
but yes,
there was a really interesting difference.
You're telling me she didn't know what she was getting into in the beginning.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
No. I'm saying, no, not you.
Okay.
I'm saying that was her idea, that she just thought she'd be accepted into this family, right? And it was all gonna be hunky-dory. Honey, she admitted to Oprah she's seen The Crown. Ain't nobody going into that not knowing what they're going to be bad.
One thing I want to mention, which does tie to this, which is when in the first part, when it was just Meghan and no Harry, when she talked, that big revelation that Oprah primed and pumped on her preview, where she said, "Oh, they wanted to talk about the color of the baby's skin." Meghan, at least this is my interpretation. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Meghan implied that this happened while she was pregnant. Harry implied that this happened before they got pregnant, when they were talking about what would your children look like. It's a big difference.
They said it happened over the course of several conversations. It wasn't just one conversation. It was brought up repeatedly in several meetings.
Okay.
And even the representative or whoever felt implicated by that I guess stayed still anonymous, but has said, wow, this person's Harry's interpretation of the conversation is so much different.
No.
Now,
because,
let me ask you a
honey,
question.
If you've ever been, I'm from the South, and that comes up. Honey,
I
you
agree.
would not believe how many
100%.
times that fucking comes up in families that have mixed race. People that comes up. So believe me, that happened, and I don't. You cannot lie to me. I don't care if the Queen gets on fucking broadcast and says it didn't happen. Yes, they did, honey, and you know it.
I know we I got this conversation went in the wrong direction because I mentioned that probably prematurely, but I want to read one quote. This is from a performance poet who is a black trans performer here. Her name is Zola. She's fantastic. I played her on my show. She spoke at the Trans March, and she's just...
She is good.
She's so good.
Can we get her on the show?
We might be able to. She's the one that said, drop your guns. She made the white people promise to stick up for trans people and swear to God or go to hell. She's fucking fierce. Anyway, this is what she wrote on the subject. I'm just going to read it in her... She wrote it this way, in this dialect or whatever. Child, y'all concerned for your rich ass, biracial ass, light skin ass, extremely privileged ass Meghan Markle is really puzzling to me. And even more puzzling to see y'all act so shocked that these prehistoric primordial whitey roaches is racist. It's a damn monarchy. What do y'all expect?
I just want to say in response to that I've heard a lot of this criticism. My friend who is the conspiracy theorist who I was talking about before.
It doesn't matter.
posted a picture of Meghan Markle saying, here you have a multimillionaire who's doing an interview with a multi-billionaire about oppression and their take on oppression. However, I would like to say that it's important for somebody like Meghan Markle to speak out against structural racism. This isn't a case of, oh, poor little Duchess. She has a tremendous platform. It would be irresponsible of her not to use that stage, that megaphone, to say something. Do we really not want to promote, or do we really want to promote the false assertion that people without her platform can have the same impact that she does? Yes, a person of color working multiple minimum wage jobs certainly understands oppression on a much deeper, more profound level than Meghan Markle, but they don't have the access to the audience that she does.
This is the reason why this subject is fascinating, because this interview and this subject is so multi-layered, because you have the interview itself, which is fascinating, and Oprah fondling the eggs while being accused by these QAnon people of being like somebody who kills babies for their, what do they call that goo? And while she's fondling eggs, I mean, the visual of it to me was stunning. Oprah's fondling these eggs that they gave her in their chicken coop. And then meanwhile, Meghan's pregnant, and there's Oprah. I just like all these South Park images come up. But that's one thing. But then you have the idea of this woman with a mental illness, and then you have the idea of how she's being treated racially as a family, and then you have the idea outside of that of how this reflects on what about the monarchy as a whole. I mean, there's so many layers to this, and honestly, I don't even know where to start.
I don't think it's fair, especially somebody will say, "Oh, she's not dark enough, honey." The monarchy does care, and I cannot stand to hear this. Go back to like Dorothy Dandridge, go back to all these Hollywood starlets. They're women of color, right? But they're not really though. They're light. It doesn't matter, It's
it does matter. Colorism is a thing. And it is salient.
No, I'm saying it doesn't matter. No, I'm saying it doesn't matter when you're trying to for you to sit there and act like it doesn't matter, because you're trying to basically say, well, Meghan Markle, she hasn't been oppressed.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
That's disgusting, and obviously she has, and
can we talk about
she
Oprah?
Upstaged listen, if you look at photos of her, breathtaking. People loved her when they were touring the different, what do they call these things again? UK, and then they went to Australia. Like, she upstaged the entire family,
she
just
looked
like
amazing.
Diana did. It's the same thing that's happening.
Before we talk about Oprah, I do want to point out, because I posted that, or I showed you the picture of Harry's mea culpa when he dressed up as a Nazi, and I did that because just to point out, in 2005, he dressed up as a Nazi to attend. This wasn't like a costume party or anything like that. It was a friend's fancy dress party. And the following week, the Queen was scheduled to lead a Holocaust memorial ceremony. This was in 2005. And as we know from watching The Crown, Elizabeth's uncle, which was the king who abdicated, was a Nazi sympathizer who met with Hitler. So the royal family has all these like very odd ties and relationship with Nazism. And so when we talk about structural, I mean, it's to Debbie's point, it's absurd that they have come out and then said basically what everybody says whenever they're accused of racism. It's nothing could be further from the truth. Nobody is less racist than the Windsor family.
Right.
It's such a poor way of addressing.
They had an opportunity to have a person of color as the Duchess to change it. So to think about the levels of fucking stupidity. Let's just say they're behind the Queen. Behind the scenes, they're all super racist. Let's just picture that, right? You have the perfect scapegoat, right? No, that's my black friend. They could even do that much because they're so fucking racist. I mean, come on. It's just beyond. And I do think that this is going to take them down. It might not do it overnight, but believe me, Meghan Markle is a smart cookie, and Oprah is not going to let this pass. I'm telling you what, they're going to drain.
I want to mention one thing that struck me as odd coming from Oprah, which is, because here we're pointing out this racism, which this wouldn't have happened 50 years ago because there's no way they would have let somebody who's black in the royal family. It was unheard of.
God, no.
So
no way.
What
happened 20 years ago?
But so what struck me like incredibly was when Oprah made such a big fucking deal about the baby's gender, because that to me is just as going to be cringeworthy as is this matter of race in maybe 10, 20 years. It should be cringeworthy now. Like, why the focus on gender? We're having all these discussions on why gender doesn't matter and gender being forced on people and potatoes and all this. And then Oprah's like, is it a boy or a girl? And then there's
and Harry's
like, be
assertion
fucking
that now,
aware. That's very fucked up.
Now their family is complete.
It's complete,
That they have a little boy and a little girl.
See, and that fucks up a lot of credibility for Oprah in my mind. I think it's fucking bullshit.
So.
Oh, I do.
No, but you don't.
It's fucking
I can
bullshit.
sort of
She should know
understand
better
it.
than
No, because it was from like like, you know, she's a cis female. Megan's a cis female.
Mm-hmm.
Harry's been given his, you know, his son. You know, that is like something people look up to because the father wants to shape that child. Well, you know, in his manner.
It's old-fashioned nonsense.
Right? I know, but all these are conform.
Well, they need to be aware of that old-fashioned nonsense and not fucking do it, because they're fucking role models and they're saying, yeah, we're gonna advance the race issue, but we're gonna throw back the gender issue back to 1950. I think it's bullshit.
I don't think it's that crazy.
Well, I do think that.
But she's just happy
Oprah
she's gonna,
better.
you know. But she'll grow up and say, you know, my mother always did my hair this way. I'll get to do my daughter's. I mean, that's a sort of a rite of passage, you know, or maybe
because your daughter might turn out to be turn out to be a son. It's not aware, and Oprah knows better.
Yeah,
it's not.
I don't think there's any bad intention behind it, though.
I don't put this.
I don't care about the
Megan
intention.
And Harry.
I don't either.
Right?
Absolutely not. This is all Oprah.
It's fanfare.
But Oprah should know better.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't see it that. I mean, I understand your point, but I just don't, you know, I don't see it. I don't think it's that badly. And, you know, I don't think there was intention. Like, Oprah's like, going to get those trans people.
Of course not. Of course that's not the intention.
Yeah. Racism is not about intention.
Yeah.
It's about effect.
There's
and the
implicit racism. There's implicit gender
that
bias.
there are only two ways that you can do sex, and that's male and female. And then that's propped up by the assertion that, oh, the family is now complete now that people have a little boy and a little girl.
It's so ingrained into our society that she did it. I'm sure.
So is racism.
Yeah. No, totally. That's the point. Is like I just don't think it was her intent. But you said you didn't think it was either.
Yeah, it's not about intent. The point is, it's not about intent. That you have to look at a situation, and when you are more culturally informed, their trans issues have been so marquee over the last decade, and part of this is when the Rachel Dolezal thing came out. Mm-hmm. There's a woman named Linda Alcoff, who's a theorist, who wrote this article called The Problem Speaking For or As Others. And that's something that we've been trying to be more mindful of when we have rebooted Eat This Hot Show. Like, if we're talking about certain topics, how can we include people from different communities that we do not represent? And she said in response to the Rachel Dolezal thing that people treat the notion that, like, race is a social construct as if race is just completely arbitrary, that there's no process that's involved in that, but that's a myth. So when we talk about things like sexuality and gender and race, that what makes it a cultural construct is that we have come together culturally to have very difficult conversations and parse these issues out. So we have come together collectively and had conversations about trans individuals when it comes to gender and sex, right? We have not had any of those conversations about race. So I completely lost my point about what, So Oprah, none of this is lost on Oprah, right? And so she's seen all of these conversations go on. She's probably been a part of many of these conversations.
I'm sure.
So she can't claim ignorance when she does something like that. And all we're saying is that, look, we're not saying that she has bad intentions in asking a question like that. What we're saying is that, look, when you know better, do better.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know better.
Now, so let me pull this back to my point, and maybe Madge's or maybe not. But do you think if you go to the base that's obsessed with the queen, so in America, most likely white women that live in, nice houses, maybe 40, 30, 35 and up, maybe in the UK, mostly majority white, they love Oprah over there. Do you think that was intentionally brought in to make her more likable? Because that's a likable moment that a cis 35-year-old white woman would say, oh, she's, you know what? I did this, that's something that they like. That to me.
Well, and let's not operate under the illusion that Meghan and Harry didn't get to okay a question like that.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing that I thought was BS. I'm sitting down with you. Nothing's off the table. You said I could ask you anything. I'm like, come on. There were so many lawyers in that room.
Yeah.
I
like
think
a question about the sex of your child when you're Harry and Meghan.
Because they could, if they were, quote, I'm just saying, his words, right, they really needed money for security. Do you know how much money?
It was like a national, it was like an international gender reveal party.
Yeah,
the thing was fucking, it was shameful.
That's tabloids still sell.
It was shameful. Why didn't they just explode a cake, and it's blue? I mean,
because that is the main selling point. Tabloids are what sells in America to distill these type of people.
I get that, but
that's
still,
a moment
Oprah,
they would want.
Oprah doesn't
but I'm saying,
need to do that.
if you really cared about money, you would sell that to OK Magazine, like all the other celebrities, like Tom Cruise. You remember when Surrey was shown, the big reveal, and they made like $1 million off of it. Oh, you don't? Well,
I
that's
remember
what
Siri,
plays
the secretary on 30 Rock, but I don't know.
Deborah has pictures of baby Surrey cut out from OK Magazine. Framed, put on her wall.
I remember, people said it was a wig. That's not her hair. That's a wig.
So
she's wearing a shidle.
The biggest thing that struck me.
This is the first.
Okay, the biggest thing that struck me. I don't know where you want to guide this interview. Feel free to go ahead. But the biggest thing that struck me, the biggest revelation to me, was not that the family's racist. Of course, they're racist. I had no idea that they fucking have cocktail parties in the Buckingham Palace, and the fucking tabloids come over that they're in bed with the tabloids. That was shocking to me.
But we see that in first season and we see that it's maturing because how they get more control.
But I didn't know how it was today.
That was
shocking.
very.
Well, I knew they were in the pocket. Remember when they were bugging the phones of the celebrities? You don't think the UK the UK government had to have the technology to do that? You remember when Sun got. Remember when Sun got caught? They're like, oh, it was the Sun tabloids and Piers Morgan bugging phones.
Well, see,
the news organization was able to do that.
That's why I'm
there was
saying,
MI6 involved.
But see, that's where I'm saying, the fact that Meghan is wielding this tool, she's wielding her skills as a propagandist to fight back at this because she has to. They have so many weapons in their arsenal, and I think it's actually commendable how she's doing it.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
She's gonna chip it down with. She's got
very
Oprah.
interesting. So I don't know where you want to go with this, Ragan, because there was so much there besides the eggs that I'm fixated on. Her box of eggs and the way she just kept fondling. She was opening the eggs. Oprah. I mean, there's so much symbolism with eggs. It's like, I never had kids. I didn't have kids. I'm gonna get excited about yours, and I have eggs in my
There's
hand.
salmonella.
Oh my God! I was like, wow, Oprah and the eggs. Where's the meme?
Yeah, and that's another interest. I always say it's an interesting point. It's an interesting point that Oprah has a somewhat queer lifestyle, that she never married Stedman, that she decided that she wasn't going to have kids, and then yet to make that misstep with the gender reveal thing. And who knows, that may have been a condition that they talk about the sex of the child or the baby.
Who knows? But then you're getting into crazy shit like what Joy Behar said, which I couldn't fucking believe on The View the other day. She's like, I heard that that's not really Charles's son, and that's why they're letting him go from the family, because it's not really his son, it's the other guy's son. I'm like, I can't believe she's saying this shit on The View. I mean, that's...
Well, we talked about this on Pod Save the Queens, but the thing is that...
But that's not The View.
Harry, yeah, that's true. Harry, the most important news magazine show of in the world, in the United States. When you look at pictures of younger Prince Philip looks a lot like Harry.
Yeah, you showed us that. when we looked it up, and that
Right.
he did when he got older. But the nipples we talked about.
So the thing is,
the nipples are
the
different.
The thing is, and you're insane. The thing that I really want to, and this is an honest question. This is not rhetorical. I don't understand what happened. Like, I watched the interview. Granted, I don't always. Sometimes I miss things because I get so focused on the details, like Oprah's eggs. Like, I don't understand what happened. What caused the split? How did they end up? Because they're saying they didn't want to leave the family. But
no.
I don't get
her
it.
Color, her because.
But then why did they let him get married in the first place?
No,
How did
I don't
this
think
happen?
no
Explain
control.
it to me, because I
think
really
he
don't
did
get
not
it.
want a black baby, and that's the God honest
Can you
truth.
do a
To me,
synopsis and
Deborah-
explain how it happened? Because I don't get it.
This is how I see it happened. And I was listening to an episode. I think I was re-listening to episode 10 of Pod Save the Queens, and I was struck by the connections here, where we talk about how
we were spot on.
How Q was super jealous whenever her sister Margaret went to that plant and was upstaging her and charming and all of this other stuff, and and Diana, being able to be so gracious. And what Debbie said, it really struck me when I watched that interview. When I saw Megan in Australia, it gave me the chills, because she has a natural gift for this. There's just something, I'm getting the chills just thinking about it. When you see her in a crowd of people, the way that she connects with, you know how people used to say about Clinton could be talking to a room of 1,000 people, and he makes it seem like he's talking just to you. And Diana had that talent, and she has that talent, and that is very threatening, because the thing about that talent is that power can cut in any direction that Megan wishes. And so it's better to take care of the problem at the root, and race certainly plays.
So how did they do it? Like, what was their?
Okay, you know what
I'm missing
saying
it.
that her Archie isn't going to have a title.
But that wasn't in retaliation for anything specific. Like, I'm just trying to find the smoking gun.
Leave. It was to make her not want to feel welcome, and she would excuse herself. So then their hands are tied. Oh, we're shocked. We wanted her to stay. I have no idea. Yeah, we tried to set her hair on
so
fire.
Neither party is pointing to anything that Megan did wrong. Because I'm trying to find I'm trying to figure out what Megan did wrong.
No.
What she did wrong was by doing everything right.
Right.
But they're not even accusing her. I mean, I get that, but wouldn't they? What is the excuse?
They're not. But Madge, that's not the way that they operate. What she's saying is, look at Charles's. Is it Charles's brother who was accused in the Epstein thing when he's clearly diddling young girls?
Yeah.
So
Andrew.
All of this stuff is going out, and they will make statements about that. They will defend him.
Right.
Then the press attacks Megan, and their way of attacking her is by saying, we're not going to say anything. We're not going to defend you. We're not going to do anything like that. So it forces her hand to be like, another thing that I found just really heartbreaking for her was that she'd asked to go out to eat lunch with a friend after she spent 42 days in her house, and they won't let her go out to eat lunch with a friend because they say, you're too saturated, you're too all over the place.
Right.
She's all over the place, yet she's
at home.
She's in isolation, and this is before the days of COVID. And I was having a conversation with our friend Tony about this when we were playing Dead by Daylight together. And he was talking about, well, why would you want to choose to get pregnant if you're dealing with all of these depression issues? I'm like, no, that's not the way I read it. I read it as you become pregnant, and then, like many women, you deal with postpartum depression.
Right.
You're not getting it. Yeah, and so
Brooke Shields, I instantly thought that's what it was.
Yeah, and she loses a baby. So
her father turns on her, tries to sell her out.
Tell me if I have it right, because I feel like I thought I was missing something, but maybe I wasn't. So she marries in. They didn't know what to expect. They're like, okay, you can marry this Schwartz. Okay, we'll begrudgingly agree with it. Politically, it might be good. And then she's a Diana. She's amazing. She gets all the attention. We already know from The Crown and from past experience that Elizabeth hates that. She took away attention from The Crown, so they okay, we have to undermine her. So they decide to work with the tabloids, and the tabloids were just viciously attacking her. And then they did these other things like taking away the rights of the kids. So as a result, they forced her further and further away, almost gaslighting her. And as a result, they got her to leave and make it seem like her fault. Do I have it right?
She hit a breaking point, and she said,
So it's gaslighting, basically.
Like that when she said, yeah, there's a degree of gaslighting.
See, I thought there was like a smoking gun, like Megan drove a car into the wall when she was drunk. There's nothing.
This is all. This is.
To me, it's like, look at it this way, Madge. You know when you have a job and they've already decided they're going to fire you.
Oh, I wish. I need that.
No, but okay. Well, just picture you. Okay, I'm sure you've had a job before. They decided they were going to fire you. Your boss,
yes,
you excel. They already decided they're going to fire you.
Find
no
the
matter
reasons.
What you do, it doesn't matter if you keep. Okay, you got to do this and get this done. Say you.
So she's fired because she did a great job at that.
I did all the reports. Well, you're still firing me.
Sometimes you can do too good of a job. If you are threatening, and this is a trope I've seen play out in the media before, where if you are somebody's underling and you're doing too good of a job where you may take over the job of the person who's higher up, they're going to get rid of you. You can't do too good of a job. Another moment that I found heartbreaking in the interview was when they brought that photo of Harry and Meghan holding hands, where the friend said, I know, Meghan, that you normally don't like looking at the photos, but you really need to see this because y'all look just stunning. And they do. And we find out that on that day is the day that she revealed to her husband. And imagine how difficult this has to be to admit to your husband. And I've been in a situation, I mean, I say similar, but not anything like it. But when I first was diagnosed with OCD, I had only been with my boyfriend, Zach, at the time, the one who I was so in love with, for probably like 4 or 5 months. And it was so difficult to tell him, like, this is what I'm going through, because I thought, oh, you're not going to love me anymore. I'm sacrificing everything by telling you all of this right now. And ironically, all of this anxiety disorder came crashing down on me when everything was going right in my life. I just got tenure. I just started dating this guy who was the most amazing guy. And that's when it emerged for me. And so for her, when she says this to her husband, who he clearly loves her a lot,
of course,
and they have to go to this event where she has to shake it all off. There's only so long that you can do that before you hit your breaking point. And so they together said to the family, we don't want to be like the primary family with all of those obligations. We want to take a step back. We still want to do our duties and be working parts of the royal family. But the royal family turned it into an all or nothing option.
So I know that I'm white privileged, so I can't see the race shit right. I know that. Shame on me. But doesn't it seem like a lot of this has nothing to do with race? It's more about power. I mean, it's the same shit with Diana.
I think Reagan did say
the Q cannot stand a threat, so they extinguish it. I mean, I feel like part of the interview was really cringy to me because go ahead.
Sorry, this is just so important. So one of the things that we've realized watching the first season of The Crown is, and we've been having this debate, like, is this production and writers doing it, or is this the way the Queen actually was?
Right.
And we definitely had the conversation when it happened with Margaret wanting to get married to Mole, right?
Absolutely.
And so she makes it seem like she has no part of the machinations of anything, because Meghan Markle starts the interview off talking about how lovely Queen Elizabeth is.
And Harry too.
But her MO is to go behind the scenes and to get other people to do it for her.
Just wait till she's dead. We can finally get the real tea. We'll get the tea when she's dead. We will get. But see, I just found so much of it cringeworthy because, like, God, didn't you feel like some of the interview, like, God, that's too personal?
It has to be dumbed down for the masses. We know this. Trump was elected.
But some of it just seemed so personal. Like, I get that she had to defend herself with that whole argument about Kate and the kids and the wedding, who was crying, but I'm like, God, this is just personal stuff that sisters. It's a wedding. Girls are going to cry. They're going to bitch at each other.
No, it's not a wedding because they had their wedding 3 days before. So if the bitch wanted to fuss about something, she could have fussed about the real wedding.
And then it turns out it was really about stockings because one of them thought that the stockings were too warm.
Probably they're rich people. There probably was about stockings.
But didn't you feel like some of it is like, God, I'm really too deep into these personal lives?
No. I think
this is where race goes into it, because the point of that tale was that the press turned it into a white woman's tears situation. Here you have the big bad woman of color who's making the white woman cry, and so it garners sympathy for.
I mean, I get it in a way that's why she's doing it to defend herself, but it's also at the same time, it's upsetting to me that she has to bear such personal details in order to defend her character. I get both sides of it. It's just, I was like, oh, I'm at somebody's weird dinner.
Because I thought it was 100% race until Ragan proved his point and had me pull back where it is more of that does play a huge factor. That's just a new factor into it. But like Ragan said, it really opened my eyes with Ragan. I was like, oh my God, it freaked me out. It is a power thing. She stole the fucking spotlight. And it's the same thing that Diana did. So I think it's okay for you to say, you don't feel like it's 100% race. And some things aren't.
And I know
that does play a factor in it. And I don't think you should be upset about that, because if we take this back to the 80s or whenever it was a Diana, the same thing happened. Now you've just got a woman of color dealing with this. And it just adds more to the layer.
Part of it is like, and again, my privilege is everywhere, but I don't think if it was my family, they'd do the same thing. They'd be like, oh, she's marrying he's marrying a black woman. What do you think?
That's a lot of families, unfortunately.
I mean, and that's But see, I feel like so much of this picture has to do with power.
It's power, and I think that's just a new layer, because I bet you this is like the Queen. This is probably her in the background.
And then,
oh God, it's Diana all over again.
But then,
now a black Diana. No, you anointed me with your oil.
But then the other thing is that I keep thinking, we talked about a lot about this in The Crown. I mean, in our show, is that the use of these distractions and symbols, like we're going to take down a symbol of racism, but we're not going to take down racism. It's like, what about the real racism that's happening in England? What about the real racism in all these colonies? Is that taken care of? Are we all perfect except for this dinner party? I mean, but
this is. Do you know what synecdoche is?
I don't.
No.
Okay,
I think it's a place in New Jersey.
It's a part for the whole. It's a part for the whole relationship. So if I say I got behind the wheel is a part of a car meant to represent the whole of a car.
Jesus.
You know what?
Jesus. Hold on. Let me just finish.
Go ahead. I lost.
So the what is important about this conversation is that because Meghan Markle has such a huge platform, and because people, wrong or right, are very invested in the royal family, that this conversation about race helps generate other conversations about race and more mundane context. So it's not one or the other. It's one. It's kind of like if you look at catalytic events, or events that help catalyze social movements, like Rosa Parks. It's not just Rosa Parks having to sit at the back of the bus, which we can only talk about that. Well, why aren't we talking about this, and this? No, that catalytic event becomes part to represent a larger whole of racism in a particular country.
That's true. You could say that with like the gay movement, gay marriage. It stimulated, opened people's minds up and started other topics of what is like a female or a male and gender and all that. But I do want to turn this around real fast on.
And then we should wrap up pretty soon, because we've been going.
If we go with the Queen, I just look at it, and this is what I can't wrap my head around.
Well,
my hand around.
If they're not truly racist, okay, or if they are, why would you not take this opportunity again to have a person of color, even if you wanted to use them as, quote, like a scapegoat? Because picture this. Picture in another world, in another universe, like we like to say, that for some reason Trump is the queen of, I guess you would be the king of England, right? He would instantly put a black person in a role in the monarchy just to have them there. But that's what I'm saying. Optics.
But maybe it's not about race to them. Maybe it's about power. And they just don't want her to have the power. Maybe it's not about race as much as we think. Why? We've seen it with Diana. We've seen it with Margaret. We've seen it with Molchin. Why doesn't it make sense?
Because it's baked into it. I don't think it's productive to try to figure out, okay, what percentage of this is race? Race is part of the DNA of this situation implicitly. And so that's why it's got to be more. And even if their intention...
I mean, it was certainly wielded as a tool in destroying her. I give you that, for sure. And that's huge. But I guess I'm just playing devil's advocate because maybe the reason they didn't say, because Debbie's saying, well, they should see her as an asset because she's this woman of color. She represents the colonies. Maybe they're not seeing, just maybe, I'm just putting this out there. I'm not saying I agree with this. Maybe they're not seeing her as black or white. Maybe they're just seeing her as a person and as a threat. If they did see her as black, it would have helped. But they're just, maybe they're just being colorblind.
And a threat.
Okay.
It's not one or the other.
Yeah.
They see her as both. There are issues, and clearly,
but if she was black, then she wouldn't be. If they saw that she was black, they would see that she's not a threat. That she would help them. That's why I don't understand it.
I don't. Yeah.
Right. See, that's why I'm postulating.
No, they can't get out of their own way. I think that the desire for Q, who is, by the way, what we call the queen, the desire for Q to be the center of attention, to be the most important person, to be the most vivacious and interesting person, is that is paramount, right? But race still plays a part in that, an integral part in all of that. Yeah. So even though it would be in Q's best interest, in the royal family, in the firm's best interest, to have Meghan as an asset, to show how they've evolved with the times, that's not going to happen. It's kind of like the same thing with Trump. So Trump brings Omarosa to the White House, right? And even though, Omarosa is hardly viewed as representative of the community that she was tokenized in when she was brought to the White House. But she or any person of color who wouldn't tell Trump what he wanted to hear, then they're going to be axed. They're going to be 86th out of that situation because they're not playing the game that Trump has established. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This was. I really enjoyed this.
Where do you see this going when she dies?
I'm just glad that we finally had a show where we disagree because I was getting tired of it.
Yeah, and we disagreed about a lot of topics. Yes. We had 5 topics that we were going to talk about today. We only got to 3 of them. And so it's really great to have clash because that keeps things interesting. And I loved today's episode. And I just want to say I'm so excited. Glad to be doing Eat This Hot Show with you girls. And people, the response that we've been getting has been really fantastic. Yeah. And so continue to do that because every time we get comments from somebody, we're text messaging one another, look at what people are saying. Yeah. And that is the oil that greases up our machine to continue doing this show.
That's not oil, that's squirt.
That's squirt. Oh, hold on.
Why don't we have that clip?
Oh, you do. Hold on. Yeah, we have it, honey.
See the stain? That's for me. That's squirting. And that's not pee. That's squirt.
Oh.
Yes, I am.
Yes, I am.
And now
she was. She was Harry's first choice. Not many know this. Could you imagine that?
And she was like, I was wondering, you know how sometimes the ring girl brings in the ring on a pillow? I got a pillow in mine, my squirt pillow.
In case you guys don't hear me, I'm playing the outro, so we have about a minute.
Perfect.
I can't curtsy, but I sure can squirt, ma'am.
Squirtsy.
I can squirtsy.
Yes, milady, squirt. Yes, milady, squirtsy. Okay, so follow us on Twitter, Eat This Hot Show. Right? What else?
Yeah,
we got to make it simple. EatThisHotShow.com. EatThisHotShow.com.
The YouTube.
YouTube, Eat This Hot Show, even though it's really hard to find, like everything. But go to EatThisHotShow.com, has all the subscribe links. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't put the YouTube on there, I will. I will, really.
It's all right.
Bye, ladies. Ladies.
Bye. Ragan, accept my Facebook request again. I unfriended you because I got so heated. If you'll just react. I'm just like. Bye, Bonnie.
Are we?
It's over.